All right, good evening. Welcome back to Raw Academy at ICA. My name's Alex Klein, the Dorothy and Stephen R. Weber curator here. First off, I want to thank you all for joining us on such a gorgeous evening. I really appreciate it. I know it's hard to come back inside on nights like this, especially when we've had so much rain, but I promise you it's worth it for the sunshine that Gudskul brings with them. So it is such a lovely evening tonight that we also want to invite you upstairs afterwards for a reception so you can continue on with us, enjoy the weather, have a drink, maybe listen to some music, DJ'd by Gudskul. So, yeah. And then we hope we'll see you again this Friday if we can lure you back for another wonderful program. Sarah Worknow, co-director of Skowhegan, who's another amazing Raw visiting faculty member, is going to be with us at 6 o'clock. So please don't miss that. So a profound thanks to a lot of the funders who make these exhibitions possible. Kathy Sachs, who along with her late husband Keith established the Catherine and Keith L. Sachs Guest Curator Program at ICA to support the visionary work of artists to really do what they do best in our space and to give them the freedom to do that. And so many groundbreaking projects have happened because of their support. We also acknowledge the National Endowment for the Arts, the Sachs Contemporary Art Fund, the Dolphinger McMahon Foundation, and Toby Devon Lewis. And then thank you, as always, to the incredible colleagues from Raw Material Company who are here with us on site running the Academy. This is really their space this season, and it's just, you walk in here and you're really in a different, temporality is even the wrong word, just a different mindset altogether. A thank you to the Raw Fellows, the faculty, and who've all asked us the question, how do we learn from each other? And then in turn, Mari Ingram and Linda Good-Bryant, the artistic director for Raw Academy, who've asked us to reimagine a new infrastructure for the arts and effectively brought us together to form a new kind of collective of individuals and institutions. And I had to mention that because Gudskul this afternoon had us all thinking about our roles as individuals within collectives and collectives within collectives, and eventually to challenge our imagination of how do we make our own ecosystem, which I think we're going to learn a little bit about tonight. So I'm going to pass the mic over to my wonderful colleague at Raw, Dulce Abrahams-Altus, who's going to do a proper introduction.
Thank you, Alex. Hello, everyone. It's lovely to see some familiar faces, some new faces, people who have brought us into the ecosystem in Philly, which we really appreciate. So thank you all for coming. I'm just going to briefly introduce Gudskul. I will read their kind of short biography, but before I do that, I just want to say that for Raw Material Company, we get a lot of our strength and learning from what we refer to as sister organizations or sister institutions around the world. And Gudskul is one of those organizations that has had a profound impact on the way that we work as individuals, as an organization within our local ecosystem of Dakar and Senegal, but also further afield on the African continent and beyond. And I can't stress that enough. So really thank you, Gudskul, for all of the learning that we've had, hanging out in sessions, in Jakarta, in Dakar, here. I really, for Raw, it means a lot, and I hope that it can mean something for you all tonight. So Gudskul, Contemporary Art Collective and Ecosystem Studies, is a public learning space established in 2015 by 3 Jakarta-based art collectives, Ruang Rupa, Serum, and Grafis Huru Hara. After being immersed within the realm of contemporary art for nearly 20 years, they formed an ecosystem to practice and expand the understanding of collective values, such as equality, sharing, solidarity, friendship, and most importantly, togetherness. So Have a wonderful evening, and I hope to see you all afterwards for a little drink upstairs to be together and hang out, good school style.
Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Woo! Loving this energy. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. And then we're gonna do some storytelling about where we came and then how we work. And then so make yourself comfortable. And also we're gonna do some games after this. We're gonna do some dancing. So like make yourself uncomfortable. And also we hope that we can discuss after this, you know, with this mask and also with our accent, maybe like there are some things that confusing or not, but like just we hope that we can do this in a like nongkrong in bahasa in Indonesian language or hangout setting for these conversations. So to begin with, I'm gonna introduce MG Pringgotono, the one who next to me. Okay, give it to MGs, yeah. He's our headmaster in Gudskul. And then we often call him Bapak Kepsek, or like the headmaster in bahasa Indonesia. He's an amazing artist. He's really handy with everything. He's very solution oriented, and then he always come up with this like different tools, different technology that to solve like from his artistic practices and also for running our space back in Jakarta. And also he's a tailor, Hisu. So like whenever we have collaborations or like doing projects with where we produce like banners, you know, like that banners kind of thing, he always looks at it and then like finding a way to take that banners and then making products out of it. So where is Mas MG? You're back? Oh yeah, just like a product placement, like a home shopping kind of thing. This is like his product. Stufo, his brand. He has the studio next to Gudskul side. And then I've been knowing MG since 2013. We come from different generations in Ruang Rupa and also Gudskul, and then he's been like a mentor, friends. We often joke, we debate. I cried in front of him because of my collective troubles, but also he listened to me, and then yeah, we're going through so many different phases in our life, in our collectives, and then yeah, he with also other Gudskul members has been some sort of like a family for me. So that's about MGs, yeah. So,
thank you, Geshada. Thank you, everyone. I would like to introduce my friends, my colleagues, my family also, Geshada Siregar. She is a talented curator, one of our, we can really count on her in the term of curatorial, whatever we need, actually. She is also a researcher. A lot of get involved with Gudskul project, also outside Gudskul project. So she has a lot of friends back to Indonesia. And she really good in astrology. It's, yeah, many times we heard this astrology talk. And she really good on everything about K-pop. Yeah, even she has, she call it husbands.
The K-pop members.
Posters. Yeah. Posters in her room, a K-pop band. I don't know which band, but he's really into it. Even always talking like some new
collective practice from the boy band.
Yeah, she always know there is some new things about this. So the good things about Geshada is she always easily to help others in collective, if it is a collective things, project, program or something, or even something personal. So she really nice and very helpful. So,
Yeah.
Keshada.
Thank you so much, Mas MG.
Yeah.
So, we represented Gudskul for this trip. Of course, we want to bring like 56 of Gudskul members, but that's a bit impossible. But so, from Gudskul, there is me and MG who will be here today to represent Gudschools. And now we're going to start to do the storytelling about our ecosystem. So, next slide. So, if you look at the Google Maps, this is where we are located. The Gudskul place used to be a mini soccer field that we bought and we moved there. Next slide, please. And then this is like our space from the top. This is like before we change it into like a Gudskul. So you can see like there is like a football ball there, like so it was our space before in the very early, in the beginning. So this is actually what you're going to see if you're going to visit us in Jakarta. Next. And this is the gang that you will see eventually if you go to Jakarta. This is our security, or we call it Tim Aman in Bahasa Indonesia. So we often hanging around with them, they're taking care of our space, and also we play domino with them by night. And then this is like the very first, the avant-garde of Gudskul, that because they are on the front of Gudskul space.
And also because they are locals.
They are locals in our neighborhood. Okay, next. And then if you are lucky, if you come to Gudskul by night, you might see Nur, our maintenance guy, and Opang, our 3D modeling designer. They made their own tiny desk in Gudskul front desk. So that's when, if you are lucky to happen to find our very own NPR tiny desk in Gudskul front desk. And then next, it's We Are Gudskul, initiated by 3 art collectives, Ruang Rupa, Sarum, and Grafis Ruhara.
Yeah, it's next one. You maybe some of you already know Ruang Rupa. It's started in 2000. So this is how they are look like.
And also the previous one is Serum, the previous pictures, MG's collective. The previous one.
The previous one.
This is
Yeah. This is my collective, Serum. I'm from this. Yeah. You can imagine. And then the other collective is Grafis Uruhara. They are more into making print making. They are having a studio. They are trying to build a production of a printing. And they do many workshops. For the Serum, this collective is more into educational, because most of them are majoring in pedagogic. So we see that as art as a tool to educate. That's the very starting point, and then it goes on with all the discussion with friends, and we learn more and many things from Ruang Rupa also, and yeah, now it goes. And Ruang Rupa, you know, now they are become the artistic director of Documenta. Now really happening. They are the member, some of in Kassel, some of it still in Jakarta. I think soon they are. There is no in Jakarta. So,
next slide. Yeah.
Oh yeah, next slide. At Gudskul, from those 3 collective, we're thinking that we have the same problem. We're trying to erase our budget of house renting, because before each collective has their own house, like Ruang Rupa in south of Jakarta, Serum at east of Jakarta, Grafis Suruhara also in east of Jakarta. But that's the most of the most of a bigger budget. So we decided to move to erase the budget. So we run that place like somehow renting it again to others, and then for the concert, for the exhibition, and so we can manage that to pay the rent. So we just make it all the program activity so people come in. That's basically that we do. So here we have art lab. That we call it Gudskul ecosystem. We have an art lab at Jakarta 32 degree. It's a student forum. Used to we have like a yearly
A biennale for university students.
For students who has no opportunity more like in their campus, so they mostly come in and then meet other students to discuss and exhibit. We also have Journal Carbon, a video, Ruru Gallery, Ruru Kids, Ruru Radio, and then Rekfest. It's a festival, music festival. We also have Serum and Ruru Shop. That's mostly what we call it, the ecosystem of Gudskul. And since we moved in 2018 in our place, a new place in Jagakarsa, the futsal place, we have these two programs, Gudskul study program of collectivism and also a short course. So we more into how we can sustain by distributing our knowledge that we earn from doing it since many years back then. So that's what we do right now. Right now we have...
Next slide, please.
Oh yeah, next slide.
We have two different devices, so we have to go.
Okay. We at the Gudskul we have 56 people, a person in our structure, in internal structure to run the Gudskul. And yeah, imagine when we have an exhibition, we have an event, more people come in at our places. Next one.
And then there is this questions, to imagine that these 56 people who work with us in different capacity, and also like through our programs that before pandemic and starting after the lockdowns, and the policy is more lenient for us to gather, like there's about like maybe 100 people to come to Gudskul for different reasons. Maybe the question that everybody often asks us, and of course we also ask, like, why do we work here? What is the magnet? And the reason is, the next slide. First is the necessity for physical space to initiate something. So one of the challenges for running a collective of like this, let's say, self-sustaining organization is space in Jakarta, because the price is really expensive, and most of the time you cannot get really big spaces to do your thing. So that's why we all gather here, that urge, that necessity to have spaces. Next slide, please. So for example, some of our members, the one that go here, like they have their ambitions to become a DJ, to become a musicians, but like maybe not many, let's say, places that can accommodate them to do this. So this is why, like, we held often accidental or even planned music gigs for them. Next slide, please. And also, like, sometimes not all of us get the money in time. We get reimbursement and we kind of sort of like broke and anything. But if we go to Gudskul, there's always gonna be food. Some members gonna bring something. They're gonna cook together, and then like there's also the place for that sharing, and also to do like any kind of experiment that like to do. They want to do performances. They want to do classes. They want to test the knowledge that, like MG said earlier, they gain from different experiences in their life. So this is like the space for us. That's why we stick here, like to be able to get access to these spaces. And next. And there is also a good side. So like if you see earlier in the left side of the block, which is like the futsal or mini football soccer place, this is our main space. And there is a land next to it where we rent, and then we set up this like studio blocks using containers, using like recycled wood to make a studio for our friends. So like there are artists, designers, musicians, and also some of our friends who run the Jakarta Biennale, for example, for last year, they also set up the space there. So you can imagine like it's really crowded, so many people are there, so many like during the hangout sessions, there's gonna be like ideas or exchanges. They also live there, so it helps to glue the bond that we have, because we often see each other, whether they are already washed, they already have a bath or not. So like that kind of like bonding that makes the ecosystem running also. And then next, it's also about make a living with our own rhythm. As you know, like as for me, like the reason I was in a collective, because I don't want to do like a 9-to-5 job personally. So like the ability like to make the living in our own rhythm is also one of the reasons we stay here. Like for example, the next one, if oh yeah, to the video. So like this is Erbi. She's like the curator for OK Video. She's also part of Rupa member, and collaborating with Nur, the maintenance guy, and there is Risha, who used to be the participants of our collective studies and our Gudskul cook. Like after doing their projects, their job by night, they usually having like this jamming session, like a dancing session, like it often happening, you know. She has a good voice. Yeah. And then next, all right. And then there is Lenny. Lenny is our finance admin. So from morning until afternoon, she do like our checking our balance, checking our financial records. But by night, she has this secret passion to learn about fashion. So when we have a short course program that focuses about fashion, Lenny takes that class by night. You know, like she studied accounting, and then she most of the time she do like all of this accounting of our projects. But like because she has this like secret passion about fashion, she also participate in our short course program that focus on fashion. And then the next one is, yeah, so with all of that chaosness, with all of that pop-up, accidental, different rhythms, different obsessions, different passions, it's gonna be like very chaotic, you can imagine. But that's why we need to have this understanding that working together in a collective has to be considered as a fluid process. So,
it's because sometimes it's good to be disorganized. Yeah, this really happened in Gudskul, in daily life. But I mean, it's not to be or to be rebellious or something, but it's just to take the time to others, to observe more and understand what happened, and then we can in the same level, and it's easier to make a decision. That at least what we are get from many years connecting with different people and in the group.
Next slide.
So, because of what we are doing in the collective for many years, we considered that it's like we are having a school actually, because we learn a lot by doing it, and then before we don't know anything, and after we meet many people, inviting people to discussion and everything, and then we understand something else, and it's it's grow. We do research things, we discussion, and it's important process for us. So we think that it's a collective because it's good. We are, and it's okay. We are failed. It's okay. That's the good thing, I think. At least my experience being a collective. Okay, next one. So when we start to be a part of collective, that is also the time where we actually started to go school again. Because what we see is, at school, there are teachers. In collective, there are study partners. In school, there is a curriculum. In the collective, there is a local culture that made by the collective itself. At school, there is a ranking system. In collective, there are a reward and opportunity. In school, there is a test. In collective, there is a division of role and responsibilities. In school, there is a report card. In the collective, there is an evaluation. In school, there is a registration. In the collective, there is a regeneration and new network. In school, there is a graduation. In collective, there is a purpose. Therefore, we declare the collective is a school for us.
Yeah, and to think, like, we often discuss this with many of our friends because we often use our experience in school, which has its own tension, its own nuance, but we like to propose that this is like the school that we think, the school that we believe. So that's why we make this analogy. So to think about when we move to Gudskul, we think about creating a school not only as a sustainability model, but also as an artistic model for us in experimenting with art institution, and then to think of like institutional building as an artistic practice. It has its own poetic, so that's why we are experimenting with that analogy. And then like the question is, how do we work in Gudskul with all of that ideas? Next, SMG.
That's yes, we have so many meetings, monthly meeting, program meeting, each collective meetings, meeting with partners, meeting with neighborhoods, meeting just to waste time, meeting to have a meeting, meeting to wait another meeting, meeting to avoid a meeting. So, yeah, because we oftenly joke that Gudskul is always having a meeting festival.
Yeah.
Because like when you come in, it's mostly if you tour, having to come in and then have a tour to the space. You're gonna have this room. There is someone meeting there. Go another room. There is someone meeting there, and like that.
From morning until very, very late night. Yeah, and then next. Yeah.
So we have this majelis, we call it majelis. It's like monthly assembly. So from our ecosystem, there is a small collective also who come in and come to this meeting. Of course, there is very big people there. Mostly, we don't really have deciding something at that time, but if it's necessary, we do it for the making decision. But most of the time, we just updating everyone what is going on from different collective, and of course after that we going separate as a small meeting to decide is whatever necessary to be decided.
And this is like the past majelis, of course, before pandemic, like when we have a dress code, we have a theme, we have like Blackpink theme, we have like a Parasite film theme, we have like Halloween theme, so like beach theme, so like in order to make our meeting less serious, because it can get really tense, you know, especially like when the finance team reporting how we have, we need to do like more projects, but like this is how we can get everybody to come, so at least they wanna come to the meeting for showing their dress, not necessarily for like listening to the meetings and something. And there's always like check-in, ice-breaking games that relates to the topics of the team. So, and this is also as a motivation that everybody can be, let's say, the moderator or the head of the majelis, so they can have the privilege to think about the team, to think about the ice-breaking. So it's all about like having every member the opportunity to do all of these tasks, from like note-taking, from also moderating, and also just as simple as a hype person, you know, when the tensions is low, when the energy is low, they can just like, oh, okay, let's go, let's do ice breaking. So, because it's necessary in a meeting like this.
And it takes
6 hours.
Yeah.
The whole day, usually.
The whole days. Even more, 6 hours.
Yeah, because imagine 56 people, from the security team to the finance to the like fundraising team to the art collective compound team. So that's what we have in the majelis. And next one, the other thing is that we have so many WhatsApp groups to talk about many things. Maybe all of us, you know, like have that pop-up WhatsApp group for a certain projects, and we do like personalized stickers to ease the conversations, and then like we also run regular program, accidental program, and then, because usually when that many people come, we have these friends who like work in a government, work in this place, just come from abroad. We just like ask them to do like a pop-up discussions about what's happening now in the government, in the ministry, like can you spill us some gossip or something, and then like someone who just came from abroad, we usually like have this pop-up discussion. So what did you see there? What did you work there? So that is that. And then like everybody here can also propose and make a program according to her, his, or their hobbies. Like good R&D, you wanna share about that a bit?
Yeah, recently we have this at Good Site. We call it Good Site. It's the site of Gudskul. It's for any. We opened it for any artist, designer who want to rent that place. But also we have this Good Site for maintain our waste. It's like a management waste. So when we are having a festival or concert, it's so many trash, like a bottle, plastic bottle and so on. So we collect that, and then we develop a studio for recycling plastic into anything. We have the shredder, the injection, and the extruder also right now. So yeah, we try to still trying to make our ecosystem is complete. Yeah.
And also the last thing that we really like to always retain in our practice is how funding follow program and program following the hobby. For example, in the earlier part, you see that there is this program called Ruru Radio. It was established just because one of our members was like really geeking out about radio. So we have that program. And also like Ruru Shop, we have this member who was like really passionate about making bazaar, making merchandise. So it was based on their passion. So it doesn't feel like necessarily a burden. And then our logic is to find fundings that can accommodate that hobby, you know. Because sometimes, you know, like we cannot really rely on these funding systems. We have to be, in a way, self-sustaining in that practice. So that's why, like, if it's something that came genuinely from their interests, from their passions, the program can sustain and can be independent, whether there is a funding or not. And then the second one is, and next slide. So this is where the chaos happened, but essentially what we wanted to do is about giving everyone remote control and access. For example, in Ruru Kids, it was established because some of the members start to have kids, and then, of course, like when they are working, they're gonna bring their kids to the space, and they wanted to learn how they can make bridge the understanding to their kids about their practices. So it was the reason why Roro Kids was established, and then that's why in here, like there is like some, this is all Gudskul member kids, right? Yeah.
I just realized there is my daughter there.
So like, for example, we have this session where like every kids like can do the jamming together, and then because back in the house maybe they make loud noises, but like in here, like, okay, you do the performance, for example. So there is that. Next one.
I'm gonna tell a story a bit when we are pandemic, the first time when government tell us to lock down. So it's empty, completely empty, and not really completely, because there is some of us staying there, like in the good side, the studios, they are keep staying there, and then every program it's postponed, and then we feel that it's what a waste. We have infrastructure, the space, but no one there, and then we start thinking what we can do for this pandemic situation. So since there is also a sewing machine there, 3D printing also there, so we made this face shield and then hazmat suit. Actually, I never sewing a suit before, but we learn very fast and how to make it, and then we make some of them only, and then we share it what we do, and then it's very quickly has a response to others, and okay, you can do this, and then we can collect a donation to make this more massive, and so we turn our gallery space into a small factory. So there is a sewing machine, a 3D printing being moved from the studio to the displays, and it's a bit crowded, but
and
very
also
fun.
we invite our neighbor, who lost their jobs and then like maybe just got hiatus or something. So by using the donations, we also like give them like a paid for their voluntarily job, like for basic meals and something. So this is like where finally all the friendships, all the networks that we gained throughout the years, come help us, in a way, and also came to help our ecosystem and our neighbor, because when we said that, okay, we are producing voluntarily this face shield, these hazmat suits, suddenly like we get messages from our friends from different parts of the world, like, okay, we're gonna donate, and then we're gonna give this. And also in our local context, the Rekfest festival that usually happen in a valley in the district called Sukabumi, where there is like local farmers. So at that time, during the lockdown, we also work with them, with the local farmers in Sukabumi, like they sell their produce, the vegetables and all, and then we change our merchandising shop as a like grocery store, online grocery store for that time. So it was like the early March 2020 situations that we come up with this whole idea.
That's also why facility like us, it's very easily to change, I mean, that idea is very spontaneous, and it's okay with, I mean, it's a privilege for us because we can flexible. We can just do it and change it, things or facility into what we are need at the time.
Okay, so, and the next, so at that time, with all of those webinars about arts in pandemic and something, so this is kind of like the reflection we did back then. Maybe we have changed our thought, but this is like from the past reflections, and what we were thinking that at that time is that it's not necessarily what art can do, but we can do as a human being, and then it's not about engaging with community, but also to think of us as the community itself, our neighbor, ourselves who are also affected. So, and at that time, we also think that it should no longer be a symbolic gesture, like that time, that surviving mode, but it needs something that's like a direct action at that time. So it's like a small steps that we can do with our resources. Next. So next one is we speak a lot about our spaces, our programs, and project, but also maybe we can also share a bit like our artistic project evolutions throughout the years. So for the next one, yeah, Mas MG, you were here.
This one, our latest, not really latest, but it happened in 2020 in Dhaka Art Summit. We come in there, and then it's before lockdown. Yeah, we have this collective school ideas, speculative collective. We have a cinema art. This the cinema card. We using the what is called. Like
yeah, some sort of like a trolley, small trolley.
Sorry, I forgot. So we turn it into a moving cinema. And we have a printmaking workshop, food, karaoke tent, and the Lonely Market.
Lonely Market is where we like invite the local artists to sell their whatever they want. We just like set up the bazaar and then created the one that, yeah, the one our friends that we met there to just set up some pop-up store, for example. And then the next one is, this is our project with Art Gallery of York University in Toronto. This is one of the latest and the longest one. So we were invited to do like, initially it was a 2 years residency, but it turns into like 3 years residency due to pandemic. Next slide is. So we went there in 2019, we met the artists, we met our potential collaborators, but then again, the pandemic hits us, and so we cannot come to do like the festivals. And if we want to do it online, we have a very big time zone differences, as you can see there. Like if it's 9 p.m. in Jakarta, it's 9 a.m. So that's why when we try to adapt with the situation and think of the programming in order to not losing the momentum that we built since 2019, we need to think about other ways. And especially at that time when we tried to think about traveling, some of us in Indonesia at that time, we all only get Sinovac vaccine, and turns out Canada is like not allowing people with Sinovac vaccine to come. So like it was a really difficult situation, so we don't really know what to do. And then at that time, rather than thinking about online program, especially with these difficulties and the different time zones, we think about how we can make asynchronous collaborative project, something that is tangible, something that is slow, because at that time we don't really know when we can travel there and meet them again. So we offered them, okay, let's do a workbook, which is like collective ASCO workbook. Next slide. So all of our questions, all of our curiosity that we want to map with them, we turn it into like games, into like workbook. So it's like a snake and ladders, like fill in the blank. So it's all, or like a collage. So it's all asking them about property, value, story about their collectives, and then sustainability issue, economy issue, but we turn it into like a game. So we designed it in Jakarta, of course online. We asked our artists to collaborate and to think of the schemes, to think of the games, and then we send the illustrated, oh, this is the book. Yeah, that's the book. So after we finished the design, we sent it to the Toronto folks, and then they printed there and then distributed it to our collaborators there. Next slide. So finally, we somehow extend the Gudskulness, for example, in a form of workbook that they can touch, we can have like an asynchronous dialogue, for example, and they can take their time to feel, to reflect, and to write what they want to share with us, So this is like when all of the workbook is being distributed, we have the Zooms in the very late evening and morning in their time, and this is them all holding the workbook. Next one. So like it was all really beautiful, like how they came up with the schemes, with like writings, and then like it like changes the nature of like online interaction to something more like tangible and reflective, and then like so this is one of our actually really favorite project to do this. So like after everyone finishing their workbook, they scan it and give it to us. So after that, we do the mapping, like with all of these resources, with these properties, values, story about collective, how we can, let's say, make a speculative collective, or like making like a collective pot together. So after all of those mapping, we create that exhibitions that in the first slides, like all of the harvest, all of the workbook, and what do they want to do in this like festival is all being conducted based on all of these reflections they have from the workbook. And then the last one, this is in Cooper Gallery in Scotland. After making this workbook, we are really interested in creating like games, modules, where we can, let's say, have a simulations or like a playful way to think about collectivism. So we developed this collective card game. We're gonna play this after this. It consists of 69 questions about collective practice. So when we have the invitations to do the exhibition to Cooper Gallery, we cannot go there because of pandemic, so we just send them all of the files and they put it all nicely there to make these collective card games. Okay, we're gonna play that after this. So now it's about the admonitions. Oh, this is, for the context, this is like a yellow rice that usually we eat for celebrations in Indonesia.
So basically people will cut the top and then give it to someone special first and then take the foods around it.
Yeah. So this is like a metaphor about like all the chaotic things, all the nice things and delicious things that happen in Gudskul. So, but the ammunition, next slide. Yeah.
So this is our schema, our structure basically. We have these three Rooks, Gudskul, and Art Collective Compound. Rooks, it's our business unit. It's a company in the for legal, and we have this Gudskul. It's a foundation, and then Art Collective Compound. It's like a collective of collective, like how to organize all the collective are in our ecosystem, like the timeline, the program, and so on. And we have in the middle, we have Lumbung. That's a collective pot. In the beginning, it's as a concept. It took 2 years, I think. Yes, 2 years, more or less, to make all the people in Gudskul to understanding this. What I mean concept is the idea of we going to share a financial to the others collective. Whenever someone from other collective need it, they can ask, and then there is some collective have more money, they can give it to who need it. That's the idea. But because each collective, like from Ruang Rupa, Serum, and Grafis Huruhara, they have finance stuff and to make their book. But now it's we are quite happy what happened now because it's like organized, like all the financial stuff. It's now in the one room, so it's really open, so anyone can see whatever the condition, finance condition. So we do a lot of juggling. Yeah, but that's what we do. If someone who get more money, for example, these Rooks, it's our unit business. We do a lot of artistic consultant to make a exhibition, to make a concert, festival from company to their campaign and so on. So we got money from that, and Gudskul also have his own way to get the money, like a funding, for example, or even just only a collaboration with other institutions. And also art collective compound. Basically, art collective compound also can get money, but it's more small one. But it's mostly they are just
Running the
program.
and experimenting with like what kind of like artistic models that in each, let's say, divisions or unit are interested to. For example, okay, video more into the media art, and then rural kids, you know, like for art for children, and then remedial is for high school students. So we imagine that the collective pot, which like the shared resource of the capital, is not only money but also knowledge, experience, and like artworks, for example. So let's say that in Rooks, we get this money like from like doing the commercial works, we get the fundings, and then the art collective compound can organize that to conduct their programs, and they're gonna develop like new models, new work, new artistic possibilities that later we can also implement in our collective studies program, in our educational program, and also maybe as a bargaining positions and like our creative agency, like when we do commercial works, you know. So it's all connected, and like, yeah, and how it all beneficial, or let's say nutritious, you know, like giving nutritions from each other practices and units. And next. Yeah.
And it's also not on Lumbung idea is not about money, but also the other important thing is access. So the idea is the same. We put on the table, there is an access. So anyone can get it. Anyone can use it, those access in many ways. So this is the Lumbung that we mentioned before. It's a rice barn for harvesting, to put the harvest, the surplus of farmer, so it can be used by anyone in the village who need it. So sometime for celebration and
sometimes for funeral, but the idea is that anybody who is part of the community, they can put their surpluses and other can get it. So that's why the idea of access, and the idea also to share the resources. And the resources is not only like tangible things, but also the intangible, like knowledge, time, also, and then expertise, and then that access, the experiences, that what being circulated together. And then next, in order to like implementing this, contextualize the Lumbung practices into like our day-by-day practice in Jakarta, in Gudskul, we sort of like trying to find how do we manage to still keep doing this during years. And then there is this certain values that we find that anchoring us, that sort of like maybe a recipe, but this is like what we believe can that have been practiced in our during every experience of the collective. For example, of course, like when we talk about sharing resources, it's all about generosity, and also, but also in terms of generosity, you have to feel sufficiency. You know, you cannot really think in terms of like only seeing the scarcity or like focusing on the lack of something, but also there's always like abundance of other resources that we have, and that capability and that intention to stop and then like to self-limit ourselves, for example, when like by knowing where we at and our conditions. And then, of course, humor for us is really important, because we often said that collective practice is not the most efficient way of working. So that's why like accommodating humor, like allowing mistakes, and also to laugh at our lives and our failures, and also but to get back again is really important. And also about regenerations. Regenerations internally is also about like how we can nurture expanding our networks and having like new members coming, but also it's about regeneration of ideas, you know, how we can distribute, contaminate each other with our practices, with our ideas. So that's also part of regenerations. And also about independent, independent, what we meant here is not necessarily like that, being fully independent, because independence sometimes is a utopia idea, but actually it's about the power and then the awareness that we can do this practice even though, let's say, the government or other fundings or the sponsors doesn't come with us. And also how we can negotiate, let's say when we work with different institutions, when we work with others, that we can retain what we think, the way we work, and also to see how we can, when we do like collaboration with institutions, with government, or with sponsors, we also think of it as a form of education, because sometimes they keep doing the same system, they keep doing the same models because that's what they are used to, they are familiar with. But also, that's why when we are like offering something, new models, new practices, is also maybe is also sometimes the way that the staff of the government, for example, or these funding models can also learn something from us, and also we learn from something from them. So it's really important to retain that independence. And also being locally anchored, because it reflecting from our experiences, because we've been moving from different places in Jakarta, and of course we often realize that we came as an alien in that neighborhood, but like how we can familiarize ourselves with the neighborhood, and then like, because we're gonna make music concerts, loud music, noise performance, and something like that, but like how we can also be engaged and realize where we at. And this locally anchored value, not only just for us who running the space in Jakarta, for example, but also when we do projects, outside of our localities, it is really important to be like locally anchored, to know like who is around us when we do like residency here, or we do something like here, like to get to know what is the local context there. And then there's of course like curiosity, and also the last one is endurance. Mas MG, do you want to talk about endurance?
Yeah, she have a good endurance, right? Yeah, that's why. I mean, because it is endurance, mostly people not really pay attention about this. Mostly generosity, transparency, and so on. But in fact, if you want to make a sustainable collective, this is very matters, because that's in the beginning we also say it sometimes in an efficient how we do it to make a decision, but it takes time. So this endurance, it's quite important. It's also actually, we realized this after years. Oh yeah, that's important, that's endurance, that's why we are keep doing this.
And then for the last one, just a bit, because I suppose that this many curiosity about this. So after learning from the accumulation of Gudskul collective experience in directly practicing institutional building as an artistic form, therefore we propose Documenta 15 to imagining, tinkering, experimenting, executing models of Lumbung. So we think of it as like extensions of resources, and also a process for learn from one another, like how we can think about models in which in the art ecosystem has been running, when we do biennales, when we do festival, when we do like yearly exhibitions, we want to like work with with Documenta 15 institutions, and also with all of the collective artists that we participate, like how we can imagine, and after that maybe propose a new, not necessarily new, but like finding a models that can focus on sustainability, because there's always like based on that alien or the eventual amnesia, like when you have a biennale, you have this theme, and then like 2 years later people forgot about what was the theme about, what was the politics of it. So how to think about sustainability, not only in terms of like fundraising, financial, but also ideas that can regenerate years after that and beyond that. So that's for the storytelling. Thank you for still listening until this. This is like terima kasih banyak. That's from Bahasa Indonesia. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for keep staying and listening. And now we're gonna try this collective card game. So as the first stage, me and MG, we're gonna like play from ourselves, so you know like how it's run. And after this, maybe we would like to have a volunteers from some of you who might run a collective to also play this game. So okay. Yeah. So like.
Actually, we are going to give this to the fellows.
After this?
After this. So, this is only one. I know after this, the question is who will keep this? You will decide it. Yeah.
So, yeah. So the game is that there is like 69 different questions. So the game is we shuffle the card. Okay, we shuffling the cards.
Or ask someone.
Okay.
No, it's not a magic show.
Oh,
So
okay.
I would like to have a volunteer. Is there any one of you are in the collective right now or having a collective right now? Is there any?
Don't be shy. This is not like a test on collective practice. This is just like having fun. Oh yeah, okay then. Hello there. What's your name? You can come forward. Yeah. Give it applause. Yay! Woo! Loving the entrance.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do I sit here?
Yeah. Would you like to introduce yourself and then your collective, the practices, and yeah.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Dare, and yeah, I draw, I paint, make videos, animate, you know, the works.
Okay. Thank you so much. And what's the name of your collective?
The masks we wear.
Okay. All right. So this question. So this is like the card gonna consist of 69 questions that aim to make us reflect about our collective practices. So and we design it in a way that you cannot answer the question by just yes or no, but you have to tell a story from this card. So yeah, Mas MG, yeah. Take random cards. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. You're gonna open it and then can share your answer.
Do I read the question too?
Yeah. Read the question.
It says, how does knowledge transfer happen in your collective? Over drinks, usually.
Yeah. And then what's happened, you know, like during the drinks and then like.
Yeah, I mean, I think ideas are shared best when you're comfortable and they can flow easily and it's not a lot of judgment, you know? I read somewhere, I don't know if it's true, but they used to like debate topics in ancient Greece, once sober and once drunk, and the topics that got through both times were the ones that they would take to wherever it went to go. So that's kind of how I think about life.
Thank you so much for sharing and then like doing it. Give it applause. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So next one.
Hi.
You want to introduce yourself first?
Yeah, so I'm Aziz. I'm one of the fellows, and my collective is called the Many-Headed Hydra.
Ooh. Okay. All right.
Awesome.
Take
All right.
a-
Oh, God. Okay. Yes. Okay. It's like tarot.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Shit. What would you do if one of your collective's members has some financial issues?
Has it happened before?
It is happening. Oh my God, this is very personal. So the collective is transnational, and there are people. So the idea of the many-headed hydra is if you chop a head off, two more will grow. So we expand and contract based on need. But there's core caretakers. Mm-hmm. Three of the caretakers live in Europe, and me living in Pakistan / so it's actually interesting because in terms of funding, so recently one of the people in our broader collective did go through issues in terms of money because of pandemic plus post everything that we're facing in the world. And we actually were working on a project, so we actually just decided to kind of invite them to kind of work with us in an additional capacity, but also started thinking about redistribution in a way. And so not make labor equal to people's payments, which is what I think the art world is all about, but kind of thinking of, okay, how is this person kind of working with us, continuously over this long period. So it was kind of skill sharing that we started doing with them. And then this person is a henna artist as well on the side. They love their henna. So we just started kind of asking them to maybe engage with people to do henna in their community. And then that became part of our practice. Actually practice, and then we just kind of paid them as a project as part of that. But it wasn't making them do something special. I don't want to go into too many details here, but yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you to Hannah.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Aziz, for sharing. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
Anyone would like to share their collective knowledge experience by using this question card? Okay. All right. Okay. Would you like to go here to read the questions for us? And you can pick who would you like from us to answer?
for me or for Gisha?
Okay. What problems do you find in your collective?
Okay. And these are poof, 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 poof. Okay. Okay, for both of us. Thank you so much. So, the question is, what problems do you find in your collective? Okay. Do you want to go first, Mas MG?
Our problem is time management. Yeah, it is. But I mean, when we are having so many meetings, even we are sometimes skip. We already have a schedule or something, and it's happened to me, and someone complained about that. Yeah, it's time management because sometimes even recently we have to really make sure which time that they are mentioned on the Zoom meeting, it's a CET or it's it's a time zone different, it's complicated. So recently it's time management.
Yeah, I was gonna say also time, because oftentimes, as you can see, with so many meetings going on, so many meetings, too little time, and then with these too many meetings, sometimes the topic for this meeting was supposed to be this project, but we are talking for some other project in that meeting, because sometimes the people is essentially the same, And then sometimes the problem is too many WhatsApp group. So sometimes we send the wrong pictures to the wrong group, and then asking different questions for different groups, and then but yeah, I think that happened. And also for me, sometimes it's a problem, sometimes it's not. It's we are too relaxed. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. And oftentimes people find it confusing, and then people are confused with our practice. But yeah, but we still do it anyway. Okay, so yeah, one more. Okay, for MG or for me? Okay. Is your collective currently initiating any practice experiment?
Recently, as a medium, we are really experimenting into plastic waste from that. That's basically material that at least we experimenting and collaborating with others, others collective also who make this one is make the plastic back into oil. So it's really exciting, at least for us right now. That's but also now we are in really discussion in how that things become more artistic practice, because actually that things to recycling the plastics, it's everywhere, everybody can do it, it's something but how it make it more artistic, that's also questioning us. And then now in the middle of keep going to discuss that.
And then also, other than that, we are currently preparing our 5th edition of our collective studies program that is called Sekolah Temu Jalar. And it's going to take place in Kassel for 50 days. So these different collectives representatives going to go there. We set up a dormitory, and then and also we are currently experimenting with creating more games to think about collectives speculatively, because sometimes we cannot be everywhere at the same time. So we thought about creating these modules like this and making maybe board game that, so we can Gudskul curriculum can be present even though we are not there. So that's what we are currently experimenting.
There is one thing we are now are doing it, still developing it, a digital platform for collective. So, as I mentioned before, for many collective, actually the problem is not only money, but also access to everything, like a knowledge, access to a network, access to get a fund, or many access. So we are experimenting this digital platform. This is a new thing for us actually. None of us really into in this digital things actually. If we see each member, but now we are working together with other collective to do this. So we're thinking that how we can get an access by sharing the knowledge. How we can use knowledge as our capital. That's what we are trying to find out. Hopefully it can appears in this summer, June, at Kassel. But I think if it is appears, we presenting it's maybe it's beta, and then we still are going to develop more.
So that's a sneak peek of the collective card games, which is gonna give it to the fellows, and then so that's
Now I think it's
Q&A. Yeah. So maybe we can now, maybe there are things you would like to ask and then to share with us, and then we would love to hear your comments, your opinions, and your feedbacks and thoughts, opinions, provocations, anything. So okay. Yes, please. Oh, anyone?
I have a microphone to share. Hands.
Okay.
Anyone who would like to ask a question? You? Okay.
I'm just, first of all, thank you so much it's been an amazing 2 days, but also this was incredible. I could feel the energy in the room being really amazing and like shifting. And I'm actually interested, like just sharing this kind of global South context, like with you, like Jakarta, Karachi, kind of these super large mega cities, right, in the global South, which I feel like are deeply living under capitalism and neoliberal capital, which kind of is very much thinking of, I mean, I feel like in Europe and in the US, there's a lot of government funding, there's a lot, like different types of foundation support that we don't have in places like Pakistan. I don't know the context fully, but I feel like you've kind of managed to build this model, right, that kind of is an answer to how do we live under capitalism in kind of a really cool way. And then I was thinking about the pandemic as well, and then you had this amazing kind of resource sharing. But I guess what I'm interested in a little bit about, like, how do you imagine, because something I've been thinking about, how do you imagine kind of a bit of the end of the world in terms of like, no, I mean, this is like, I don't know, like just Karachi is like sinking and like there's no water, and actually like you kind of feel the world, the like climatic kind of end of the world kind of occurring to you. And I feel like the context of Jakarta might be also similar, just being on this island and kind of not being equipped in the same way to kind of deal with the challenges. So I guess I'm just interested, because you're kind of coming through a space of optimism and humor, and which is really important and joyful and beautiful, but how do you kind of deal with the anxiety of like this moment of life as well? Sorry.
It's okay. Thank you so much, Aziz, to talk about the end of the world. Sometimes we don't really think about like the larger issues, because sometimes we focus more on like the day-to-day end of the world kind of thing, you know, like when our bank account is zero, or like when we are stuck in a traffic jam, or like we don't know how we can pay the next rent, or like how we gonna pay for the next monthly rent. So I think that microscopic end of the world thing is often that we are thinking about more, you know, like how to survive, how to sustain. And then like with so many things going on in Gudskul, like from Good side, from the art collective compound, like each have their own challenges in terms of like programming. So that's like, you know, sometimes we think about that microscopic, you know, problems, you know, and we only speak about the collective as a whole, but you know, sometimes, you know, your members will have their own personal problem, their own Armageddon, for example. Like they broke up with their exes or something like that, which can affect the dynamic of the collective, right? Sometimes like when they're having a bad day, when they're having a rough situation in their homes, it can be projected and reflected to our dynamic, and which sometimes can feel like the end of the world. You know, we need this deadline happening in the next 1 hour, and then we cannot contact this person, for example. So like, but how to cope with that is to always be solution-oriented, or how we say it in Bahasa Indonesia is the akal-akalan, you know, how to be solution-oriented, because it will be easy to get trapped into this like panicking, anxiety, but like how to find, how to be solution-oriented on it and to trust on the process, you know, like in a way, like I think also biologically, yeah, in different kind of fields, like Armageddon of end of the world is always like a phase to be transitioning to other phase. There's always like gonna be growing, you know, there is like this echo cycle that is happening. And then especially in our collectives and also in our projects, we always have this cycle, you know, where we are like blooming, when we are like in the height of our wheels, and then we go down, we find troubles, and then we have this hiatus, we have this like death of our spirits, of our optimism. But like by knowing this is just a phase, you know, like it's just for like something's gonna happen after this, you know, like that's what keep it going, you know, like and not to also forgetting or not acknowledging, you know, this anxiety, but like to have one another and support and trust, like, you know, like this is just a phase that we're gonna do something else. And then and also in the context of that, you know, like with as a collective and who has been like working for different years, we have so many people come and go, and that's also sometimes one of the saddest thing, you know, when they have to make decisions that they have to leave or something. That's also sometimes felt like the end of the world, you know, like we cannot do this project without this person, you know, like nobody can do it like them. But then again, like we have to acknowledge that this is like a transitioning phase, you know, like I don't know, it reminds me of in the tarot deck, it's like the tower moment, you know, like you need to think about the other steps. So I think for me, that's how to deal with that, you know, that microscopic end of the world. MG?
Yeah, basically what we are do since the beginning to start this collective, or even Ruang Rupa did in the 2000, it based on what we need. So that things we try to answer at the time. Need space. There is no invitation from others, curator or something. So we just make it at house, make it an exhibition, invite people. That's the step at that year. And then now we need to erase the yearly rent house. So we do that. And then we need to distributing our experience, knowledge, so we make this Gudskul. In pandemic, we know so many people need this. Even we also need that, so we make that. I mean, that's a pattern that, yeah, we do it. So if you offer Armageddon, yeah. So I don't know. I think we think something, but I don't know what. But maybe to fulfill our need also. Like at the time when we cannot go to Gudskul, it's lockdown, and remotely we organize distributing food, for example. Yeah, we know. We sort of know that friends who need it, or this one is okay, or this one need it, so we start to manage like that. But I think in terms of to society also, what we can do more for others, not only internal member, I think we trying to think something as we can, even little. Yeah.
So thank you so much for your question, Aziz. Is there any more questions? Okay.
I have a question. First off, thank you so much. I want to also just acknowledge that you only got in on Monday evening, so the jet lag must be very, very real for you right now, 12-hour difference. But I was really curious to hear a little bit more about how you come to decisions as a collective, how you make decisions. Because, you know, here, like at ICA, we love supporting artists, we love supporting other organizations, and collective decision-making can be really difficult. And you talked today about collectives within collectives, and you are multiple collectives working together under one umbrella. So do you have some sort of like secret potion for that kind of, you know, equitable decision-making process that every group of people must come to? Aside from the festival of meetings.
Oh, yeah. In these 2 days, we have a lovely discussion with the fellows. It's very fun and also intense. That's experience that the fellows experience very important for us to gain trust and knowing each other. So if to quick answer how we make decision, it's take long time. It's complicated. But sometime before in the slide also we say we giving the remote to someone to push the button. But sometime the one who take a remote don't want to push the button, even they know which button to push. But also what happening is when we are already trust. Like for example, in many friends at Gudskul, I already somehow I can guess what his opinion about this situation. I believe in your daily life also can find something like this to your colleague or your friend. It's also happened to us. I know Geshada will think about this like this, and she will choose this one rather that one. So that's one of the way we make a decision. It's not the best thing, I know, because it's blurry or not for somebody else who not really understand it's like not the right person in we have a structure. Even I'm not always make a decision. Anyone can make decision. And I also let anyone to make a decision for us. And that's
Dynamics.
The dynamic of our collective. Practicality in the meeting when we are making decision and we deadlock. We just have to go out and have some smoke together. And we have a meeting while smoking, right? And that's the decision make. That's another way. There is another way. How we make a decision to just let it one decision unsolved, just next to another problem to make, problem to solve, to decision to make, and then we can go back, sort of like that.
Yeah.
You want to add?
Yeah, and also, sometimes in decision making, we can be quick for some projects, even or situation that we are familiar with. You know, like sometimes there is this different mode of if we do this many times before, or we are familiar with the situation, the member who happened to be there at that moment can make like a quick decision. So we can just trust them, you know, like you're already familiar with this and you can take this decision. But sometimes the longest process is when not many people are familiar with the situations. So that's why actually when that long process is taking is because we are speculatively trying to find a solution for a situation that we are not familiar with. We've never been in this project, we've never been in this situation. So it's really important for allowing us to learn about the situation, to identify what is happening around us, and to also, let's say, for example, look at our experience catalog in the past. Like, do we have something similar to this situation? Do we have something like we can find parallel, and then maybe we can adapt, modify from this respective expertise, respective experiences, and also sometimes intuition, you know. Many of our decision making based on intuition, you know, but intuition is developed from experience and that familiarity, I think. So, and that also applied, you know, whenever we have like a projects, even exhibitions, sometimes there are two ways we are operating. There are like a command-based effort and also initiative-based effort. Command-based effort is like when we have a structure, we already decide a timeline, we already have a plan, then like we know that we have to get this report on time, we have to give this email, we have to reply this email, but also like in the leeway of it, there's always like, you know, that initiative-based effort. Okay, we see these challenges, we have these obstacles, and then maybe we can try something like this. And then the process is always like we gather our knowledge, we gather our experiences, and then try to find a speculative solution. We test it. If it's working, we're gonna have it in our head. You know, we have been together facing the situation. But if it's not working, let's try to find another solution to that. And so I think that in order to make the right decision is also about how to make many wrong decisions before, so you know like which way to go. So it's really important during that decision making is not to think time as a money, you know, because it's always a learning process, you know, like to see events, projects, and exhibitions like as a school for us, you know, to think about something. So that is that.
Anyone else want to ask, please? Or I'm going to ask.
Okay. Oh, Nene.
Okay.
Thank you so much for sharing all this, like for the storytelling about Gudskul and the way in which you exist in the context and you contribute to a context in a like so beautiful way. I wanted to ask you about you being 3 collectives that are forming this single collective and the way in which you, like what are the strategies that you've been developing in order for the big collective not to swallow the 3 other collectives? So how do you exist individually as collective, like Serum, Grafis Huruhara, Rangrupa, and how does that single existence feeds back into the bigger collective, which is Gudskul?
Yeah, sure. It's happening to us. It's the complication about to see this thing also happening to us. But it also, in the same time, it's easy to be answered because the purpose that we are going to be a collective of collective from these 3 collective, it's to support each collective. We just only back to that ideas since the beginning that we are agree with this. So, but anyway, at Gudskul, we are really need to Grafis Huruhara, Serum, and Ruang Rupa keep moving, whatever they want to do. Otherwise, we, as a Gudskul, it's like losing one engine, for example. That's how we describe. And that's how I try to answer that. But the other things makes me reminds that in the term of funding, if we are applied a funding, I mean in the Indonesia, if there is a application from government, actually Gudskul oftenly fail if with Gudskul a flag, because it's they recognize it's you already established, so why don't do your things by yourself? But with the single each collective flag, it's work. So this is, we use this as one of our strategy to figure it out in the term of local funding in Indonesia.
And also about let's say finding about individuality and also not to be overwhelmed or like under shadow of bigger collective. We need to think like the collective, the members is like a set of orchestra. You know, we don't, because sometimes we need to know like what we are like to do, what we are good to do, and is it the right moment for us to do something. So like for example, for this certain event or project, let's have this member or like this member voluntarily would like to step up, and then we let them. But then again, it doesn't mean like the rest of the member not doing anything. It's like they are working on something else. So to think of it as a rhythm, you know, like we often use the analogy of like a music band, you know, like there are moments when the guitar is like silence, but doesn't mean that they're not doing anything. It's like it is a moment to be silenced, but then again there are moments where like every instrument is being played and it creates harmony, sometimes create noises, but and everybody has their own pace and rhythms and melodies to make this whole arrangement, for example. So I think that not seeing the quantity or not seeing actually like the spotlight or something, but like more about what did the member learn from this, so because especially working in like art events or like organizations, there's always like someone who works in the background, someone who do all of the crazy thing before the event, and then like during the opening they're going somewhere else. But it doesn't mean that what they did is nothing, like it's just like the rhythm, the presence that they have it was necessary for certain moment, and they have also the ability to just like hop to something else. So I think that's more to think about it. Anna, yeah.
I really like these metaphors of rhythm, but you have practicalities in terms of the members that compound the Gudskul, no? Like you tell us that there are 56 people that receive like a basic income for whatever kind of things that are creating together. But in what moment someone that is around el parche, we said in Colombia, no? The ecosystem, start to receive basic income, and then when there is like kind of silence, there is someone that say, okay, I don't need it, or you say, okay, what happened with this? Like, what is the decision of open and exit in these practicalities? Because you have to, you have limited resources, so also you cannot like distribute to infinity people. So, and you have this number at the moment, no, 56 people. So how you, in practical terms, do that entry-exit process or distribution?
Now we manage 56 people in our structure in the terms of basic income, because we are also before we have any discussion, we are so many times having experience in collective. We already have a good time together, working together, but just wait until, because it was mostly when we are in the student, and then after a graduate, for example, so we do this, but wait just until some of our member need to catch their career to get income. So slowly it's disappear the members, and then also affect to the collective. It's happening to us, and when we are moving to this Gudskul place, the futsal at Jakarta, we really talk about this. Otherwise, we're gonna lose many friends, or we can see them as our valuable resource. And well, we're really talking about this, and then we manage to secure them of their basic income. Even it's not really good for enough for their living, if have quite apa boros apa?
Spending too much.
Yeah, is yeah, just only basic. What we are trying to do is to keep them still around. They can do or find another job in some place. But you have to still around here. That's what we want. Because they are working in this another place, it's also important for us in the term of a new resource in many ways. That's what we see. And also happen, of course, not only these 56 people who are in our structure. But there's also some friends also not really in the collective, but many times help us. And that one, we try to involve them, getting involved there to the one of the projects, so they can also still around us. That's what we can do right now to make all the friends still coming. I mean, still around, because if they catch or working full time in other places, mostly they're not coming back. Only at night, for example, but not as a part of the project, you know. We need them also part of the project. So yes.
And also sometimes, not sometimes, but it's also a form of appreciations. And even though we know that with our existing resources and fundings, we cannot be like super rich, you know, like having penthouse with our monthly rent or something like that. We do really realize that, and also I think for the one who stay, there is this awareness, there is this like consensual decision making that if we want to take part of this, you know, this is a situation, because and the transparency, that honesty, you know, like by experiencing money knowledge, that you know that this is the condition, so that's why we have the finance team. We can always look at the financial reports, so you know, like our condition and situations and how we can build understanding. It was really important practically. So like by knowing that we cannot be like super rich or something like that, but it's always a matter about what other resources we can give other than, let's say, money, for example. Like, so that's why, like what we do earlier in this Raw Academy ICA session is the tacit knowledge mapping, you know, like find out what they really like, you know. For example, Nur, our maintenance guy, he has a passion for music, and so that's why, like, whenever we have guests, we have programs, we're gonna showcase him our lovely musicians, for example, like that's because these people who stays know that this is not necessarily a transactional relationship. There is many things that makes you want to stay here, you know, like so in practicality. We know that this is not, this will never enough in terms of money, but how, again, through the hangout session, we know what are their concerns, what are they really like to do, and how we can provide that space, how we can provide that opportunity for them to do what they like, you know, because I think that's one of the reasons for people who stay here. Sometimes we figure out we are kind of like crazy people who still like doing this, and then like for like many, sometimes even our family doesn't really know what we work. I bring my aunts to Gudskul once, and she doesn't really, up until now, she doesn't really know what am I doing, you know, like, but the reason we're still doing it is because we find this joy, you know, like, it's like, you know, we sometimes jokes that, you know, working in a collective is like eating spicy food, you know, it's irritating your tongue, you know, like, it makes you like want to be angry, it makes you crying, makes you sweating, but then again, the aftertaste, you know, like, that relief, you know, that when the endorphin kicks in, then you know that you just went through this phase is sometimes like rewarding. So it's also about how all of us experiencing these other forms of reward, other forms of appreciations that we can utilize and organize together in this space. So I think hope that you can answer your questions. But other than that, we can always hang out after this. Yes.
Questions in this configuration? Oh, hello. That's all the time we have for questions here, but I hope that you'll join us for refreshments and more conversation on our reception on the terrace. So thank you so much.
Okay. Woo! All right.
Thank you.
So, yeah, as a closing, I'm gonna open the last questions here from Collective Card, which says that what song best describe your collective? And we have picked a song, and that's for our closing tonight. Thank you so much for your energy, enthusiasm. We hope we can always do like the hangout after sessions, and let's dance together to end these sessions. Thank you so much, everyone. Terima kasih.
Sunrise.